another edition of Rise and Shine. Today we're here with Corporal John Young, Robert Battles, Henry Hasib, and myself, James Gordon. We're going to talk a little bit about crime in Mobile, Alabama, crime statistics. We'll talk about crime in America eventually, but we're going to focus on Mobile, Alabama right now. Last time we spoke a little bit about homicides and led into a little bit with domestic violence. Now we want to focus on robbery and assaults. So, Brother Battles, take us out with a prayer, or get us started with a brief prayer, and then we're going to pause to be right back and jump in this important subject matter.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity just to spread the message of hope to our listeners and hope they heed the warnings as you told Noah that it was going to rain. Bless everybody under the sound of our voice. In the name of our Father, amen.
Amen. Okay, we're going to pause for a brief commercial. We'll be right back. Car smash? Hurt? Don't wait. No referral, no appointment, no cash? No problem. Waiting 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that's not good. The other car insurance say, why do you wait? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Dr. Gordon, D.C. will see you possibly today. I say, I'll see you right away. Don't wait. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. One call, that's all, at 476-PAIN. The choice is yours.
H&H Financial Services in Mobile has over 20 years experience in accounting, bookkeeping, appraisals, real estate, and year-round tax preparations. Give them a call today at 251-438-1620 or visit them at 1560 St. Stephen's Road in Mobile. Let your money grow in our care at H&H Financial Services.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoy those commercials. We're going to jump right into our important subject matter about crime statistics and Mobile, part 2. Today we're going to talk about robbery and assaults. So we're going to kick it to Corporal John Young to ask him about the robbery and assaults, whichever subject he wants to take first, or take them together. Give us a few statistics in that with dealing with our fair city.
I'm glad to be here again, Doc. Brother Battles.
And he happy.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. We don't have the 2017 statistics compiled, but I'll tell you what happened in 2016. There were 447 reported robberies in Mobile, and robberies could be empty hands or two people or a weapon. 447. Right. There were 137 arrests. Assaults, there were 1,285. This is citywide with 436 arrests. The disappointing thing about those numbers is disproportionately more than 3/4 of those arrested were in the demographic that black males between the age of 16 and 24, with a robbery suspect being as young as 13 in one robbery. One of the most recent assaults that occurred was on Pleasant Valley Road at Government Street, maybe a week ago, involved a 17-year-old suspect. And so these young people are arming themselves and committing felonious crimes at very young ages. What we believe it is materialism, no fear of reprisal because they feel like they can get youthful offender, or they're so young they won't be given a lot of jail time, which in some cases is true. And guns are just so readily accessible because they're being stolen out of unlocked vehicles, or when a burglary is committed and the homes are robbed, and a lot of people don't have the information on their guns that we can put them into the crime computer. So there are guns being circulated not by some nefarious motive of people selling it. It's just that people are leaving their weapons in the car. And I like to make that a side note. Don't leave anything of value inside your vehicle, especially a weapon. But that's where we are in the city right now. Predominantly, these crimes are occurring in the 1st and 3rd precincts. It seems like there's just become an insensitivity to humanity. That's why and when we think about homicides, we say, oh, so it's so bad that people are dying, but there are so many other young men that are killed and who are permanently handicapped, coloscopy bags at 20 years old, or paralyzed at 19 years old. And you think about the total cost that has on not just him as an individual, but his family as well, because he can't work or she can't work, and he doesn't have ever lived to his potential of income. So when we think about it, not just in the humanity terms of going to prison or going to jail, some of these kids live, and they live half a life because they've been struck down in their youth.
Well, Corporal Young, have you ever, through the community service at the police department, taken an analysis where you might have talked to a suspect about What made you do this, and keeping the data in that regard, so that you could see the types of behaviors that put you at risk for robbery and for assault? Oftentimes with the robbery, most people think that the robbery primarily occurs just for money, but it's more drug robberies. So, what are some of those conditions?
Yes, sir, Brother Battles. The discussions I had with the investigators was they do ask, especially young men and young women, why did you commit this? And it isn't for food or for money. It's for materialism.
Even the assaults now.
Even the assaults, it's not over food or money. For the robberies, it's materialism. Most of the robberies now involve cellular phones.
That's right.
Side note: if you're going to buy a cellular phone off the internet, meet in a public place like a police parking lot. They'll make an
That's
agreement
right.
online to buy a phone, and when they arrive, they'll stick a gun in the person's face and rob them.
That's right.
Shoes, anything that's popular in the now. Children know, it seems like there's a subculture of I want it right now and I'm not going to cut grass or work for it. The assaults, again, we had a 17-year-old suspect who shot a man last week, and this was something that could have been completely avoided. It's just that now there are so many young people concerned with ego, bravado, and image, that I ain't no punk and I ain't backing down, and so I'm willing to do whatever I can to make sure people know that I'm bad and they should stay away from me.
Until that door slam on them.
Or someone else has a gun. And either way it goes, you have two families torn apart.
Devastated.
And so we have to tell the truth about it. We can't tap dance around it anymore. There is a subculture of gun violence in our black men between 16 and 24. You just time after time in Tolmanville, there's a running gun battle a couple of weeks ago. You might have remembered. These kids are driving around shooting at each other. This is not to say that these types of crimes don't happen in other places. It's just that time after time, the prevalence or the predominance of these crimes are happening in communities, African American communities.
But Corporal Young, I just wanted to make a comment concerning in the police department's attempt for the reduction of crime. Oftentimes I see them, they say, "Well, we're gonna set up roadblocks." Roadblocks don't stop no crime.
Well, I think when Corporal Young was speaking on it, also on to our community members, we need to ask you to try to meet in public places. I know
That's right.
the internet is very active with selling items. You got Marketplace, you got Craigslist, you got 10 other sites out there, Let Go, and all these other sites selling. So what I've done is I'll meet the folks inside a restaurant to make sure where there's people around when you're buying items, and still you sometimes get shorted. You may get slighted, but at least you don't get less likely to get armed robbery. Lock our cars. That's a very important point I've heard mentioned. I think that the folks take the valuables out of the car when they can, but make sure we lock our doors, because that makes a big difference when we're dealing with, if nothing's in your car to be stolen. And this is all neighborhoods. When I was in Saraland, I had folks go through my cars, and so no community is immune to having your cars looked through as a result of people looking for valuables. And I think that the social media and this internet, this instant with the reality TV and the social media, instant news and everything, it makes people want the latest and the greatest without having to work for it or wait for it. So it makes it worse, because people feel like I'm missing something when I don't have that I see on the internet. So they got to go out and try to get it instead of go out and work for it. But I'm hearing that we need to try to instill the work value in our youth, and try to let them know that it's okay that if they don't have the latest and the greatest, that they can wait for it or whatnot. And sometimes our children, raising our children, I notice what I notice, Officer and Corporal Young, is that I don't hear no a lot of times. I hear these young mamas and these young daddies raising these babies, and they want to say, "Well, I'm going to get a kid everything I didn't have." But it's sometimes necessary for the child to hear a no, so they know that that life is not a bowl full of yeses. If you hear no sometime and get used to dealing with no, then you don't have a problem. You have less of a problem. And I find that to be really important in life. When I hit a bump in the road in business or vehicle or whatever, and I'm let down, it's no big deal, because I've been let down before. I sort of move around and go into the next one, or
You
hang
know,
on.
Corporal Young,
Mm-hmm.
another problem especially is not only the assaults and the robbery and the epidemic explosion of crime, but once you have been arrested for either a major crime or just orderly conduct, it affects your life for the rest of your life. Okay, but what would you say to young people who listen to us today that look say, well, I'm gonna run with Dr. Gordon and Henry, but I ain't gonna do what they do. But if I know he's doing something that's illegal and I get caught with it, then I'm gonna get the same punishment.
Mm-hmm.
There's no differentiation between what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuse for ignorance or crime.
Mm-mm. Not at all. A few things. 4 years ago, Chief Barber, we were operating under Operation Impact, which went into which went into high crime areas, which were predominantly black and predominantly impoverished, and put 18,000 people in jail in 1 year. But when Chief Barber came in, he changed that. It was no longer outcome-based policing. Output by the numbers is outcome. Who are you arresting, not how many people. So that was the first thing that changed. And more recently, we've given officers the discretion to issue tickets for misdemeanor arrests. People try to say it was a decriminalization of marijuana. It was not. That the city doesn't have that power. But instead of putting someone in jail, let's say a 19-year-old man who's celebrating however he wants to after graduating, instead of having an arrest on his record, it's just a ticket. So we are trying once again to lessen the lasting effects of a single bad decision. For young people, they should take advantage of these opportunities, or old people too. You can never be too old to get a second chance. But you just have to realize that tomorrow might come. What our investigators saw so often is that something that was never normalized has become normal, which is the expectation of an early death. You know, I spoke at a memorial service for a young man that was shot and killed a couple of weeks ago, and I was disappointed and shocked to hear a young man of 20 years old state, "You can die any time." Well, this is true. We don't know when God has the time to call us. He's going to call us home. But you don't increase your chances of going earlier by selling dope, by robbing dope dealers, by driving backwards on the interstate with your headlights off. You don't increase your opportunities to die. So our young people have to realize that life goes much further than the brand new phone. It goes much further than, do my hat wet match my new shoes, or can I do the latest dance, or do I know the latest social media trash. And that's what we want the homes to recognize. By the time we get there, whatever is going to occur has occurred. We're reactive a lot of times. We have proactive initiatives that we're trying to get people involved, but they got to come sign up for it, you know.
But you know, Corporal Young, when you're talking about community, which you primarily focus on, but without the lack of community involvement, and I'm talking about community involvement where you say the police impact with the community, but at the same time, the community has to reverse that and do the same thing. We got young people in our community who believe it's a badge of honor. I was in the man. One boy told me one time, yeah, man, say, you know, I wish this time when the judge sentenced me, I didn't go to, because I've been every penitentiary in the system. So there should be no badge of courage about you being in a negative life. Most people talk about, say, we act like crabs in a bucket. Well, crabs in a bucket refer to people who are out of their natural habitat. Crabs weren't made for the bucket, they were made for the water. So if we could take the same type of attitude toward our young people so that they could get a better education, they can get employment, but most important, your children are your children, they're not your friends. We have to change, you said before, you have to change the culture if you're going to change the behavior.
If you have, again, 75% of an ethnic class who children are born in an unwed, to an unwed mother, and those unwed mothers are getting younger and younger every year. A 15-year-old girl can't teach a child anything but what a 15-year-old knows. And that is the latest shoes, the latest haircuts, the latest styles. So when she's 30 and the child is 15, now that material, and this is something the detectives told me, that child is out of control because they've never heard no. The parent has spent so much time trying to please the child and bribe the child with candy and goodies to stop crying and trying to be that child's friend, that by the time that child is the same size or larger, The child doesn't want to hear that. A lot of our domestic disputes are between parents and children.
They
We
are.
didn't get into that, but that's another large part of it. Because now you've conditioned this child to get everything they want all the time, and if you don't get it, I'm going to throw a fit. Except now at 15, 16, 17, and even into their 20s, my fit is no longer me kicking on the floor. My fit is kicking you. I talked to our domestic violence detectives about a 23-year-old man who was told to get out the house by his mother and stepdad, and he commenced to kicking the stepdad in the head with steel-toed boots. Broke his infraorbital around his eye, broke his jaw, but being conditioned all his life to get his way, he was never taught what happens after you say no.
So what role do you think that the politicians and the elected officials and the community, the ministers, what role do they play with assisting you in your effort to bring about this community revolution?
Well, for me, it's being honest first. You have to tell what the problem is before you can solve it. We have to admit this.
That's right.
And again, it's not that it doesn't happen anywhere else, but disproportionately in Mobile, 75% of our crimes are committed by the same different demographic.
That's right.
Our preachers have to preach that in the pulpit. We have to say, put the guns down. I'm all for standing arm in arm, and I'll march anywhere with anyone.
That's right.
I'm not afraid because God has prepared me to do it. But we have to have a purpose and a point. When most of our boys and girls aren't getting a substantial education, now you can't have a job fair in a community where your kids can't read, write, or count.
That's right.
And when they can't read, write, or count, then they're embarrassed and they feel like they have to make up for some kind of way. And what's the best way for me to make up? Get a gun. Now I got some pride.
Or
You can't
either
laugh
they
at me.
can't get a job because they can't pass a drug screen.
A drug test, right.
So all that does is push you keep into a negative type of attitude. So I just want to appreciate you on the effort that you do, though, because you not only articulate what you're doing, but you're very knowledgeable about how to disseminate the information so that the person who out there in need, see, it's people out there who crying for help.
Absolutely.
They're looking for you to say something that's going to give them the cue that they could change their behavior.
Brother Battles, 90% of Mobilians are not committing crimes. That has been it used to be 5%, but I think now it's increased. But 90% of Mobilians don't want crime in their neighborhood. They just got to know who to, and it's not just calling the police, but it's being involved in it. When that little girl was killed a few years ago, I expected people in that city to go around with torches and staves and burn down every drug house in the community because no more. We're not taking this anymore. We're not putting up with this. We're not accepting this identity of being subhuman, monolithic, indiscernible hordes who only want weave and tennis shoes and a gun. I refuse to be identified as a victim. Before I was Corporal Young, I was John Young, and he messed himself up with credit cards and making bad decisions. So I take responsibility for myself, but now we have to take responsibility for our communities and not let the drug dealers have them because they sense we're afraid of them.
Amen to that. Let me take a quick break, brother. I'll see if you don't hold that thought, and we'll be right back into these important messages.
Anyone can fall victim to moving fraud. Know your rights and responsibilities.
We had really signed off on a price, and that was about it.
Without a signed written estimate, movers may try to charge more
They were charging us now $2,000 instead of the agreed upon $900.
and may hold your items hostage until you pay.
Not only had they roughly handled or mishandled, it seemed like they had purposely destroyed things.
Visit protectyourmove.gov to download a free moving fraud prevention guide. Search for registered movers and view their complaint histories. Move with confidence.
Car smash? Hurt? Don't wait. No referral, no appointment, no cash? No problem. Waiting 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that's not good. The other car insurance say, why do you wait? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Dr. Gordon, D.C. will see you possibly today. I say, I'll see you right away. Don't wait. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. One call, that's all at 476-PAIN. The choice is yours.
H&H Financial Services in Mobile has over 20 years experience in accounting, bookkeeping, appraisals, real estate, and year-round tax preparations. Give them a call today at 251-438-1620 or visit them at 1560 St. Stephen's Road in Mobile. Let your money grow in our care at H&H Financial Services.
Okay, guys, those are beautiful commercials, I'm sure, I hope. We got a wonderful subject matter today, talking about crime statistics in Mobile, Alabama, and Brother Hasib is getting ready to go into.
Well, before the break there, what was going through my mind is we got to find, because these are real problems, as you have stated. You got the statistics in all the states that it is. We know where the problems are happening. My concern is that we only addressing it from the law enforcement side, and maybe you doing all you can do on that side, but as a whole, because you come after the fact, you come after somebody's been shot. We know this quarrel been going on for a month, and we did nothing. We looked the other way, and then all of a sudden we shot. We got to find some kind of way to get the community involved in this. And I know one of the things.
Let me, not to cut you off, because I know we run out of time. Let me tell you how you get the community involved. You talk to Dr. James Gordon, because I came to him last week with a problem that I have as a school board commissioner at Wilson High School. We're trying to get our band started. We don't have the instruments. Right now, he, on his own initiative, have bought 13 instruments that we're going to take back to Wilson High School to help boost up the children's spirit. We know that the only thing that's going to change the conditions that precipitate the behaviors that put our children at risk is for the people to look above. See, your community has to be raised by the village. See, the village concept has been taken away. So I don't see the importance that if your child is misbehaving, then I don't worry about it until it comes to my child.
I think one of the important things you say is, like, and Brother Steve, I think we got to start holding our servants. You know, our police department's done a great job, and
That's right, but they
Mr.
can't
Barber
do it all.
is now he's the what's his
He's
position?
the public safety director, and Chief Batiste is the current police chief.
The public safety director Barber and Chief Batiste have done a yeoman's job, and then a lot of the police officers have made different attitudes since they've taken over. You know, a year or two ago, before Chief Barber's time, it wasn't coming to get stopped by an officer that would talk down to you. Now you don't seem to get a little bit more respect when we pay attention. Sometimes I'll observe an interaction. It wouldn't be me, someone else, or if I get stopped. The attitude I notice is different. So I think the police department and the city has it right, trying to do the right thing and realizing they're servants. But when we get our politicians in office, or our preachers, and our business owners, the business owners need to be tasked with, you know, all the money you make is not for you. You know, you got a religious text. Whatever your religious text is, I'm sure it has something there about giving. And when you give, it doesn't mean to your place of worship always. Sometimes it's to the community, like to the Williamson High School, or to the Blount High Schools, or to the LaFleur High Schools, or to whatever school. We get requests all the time, and we try to help in any way we can. But I think if all leaders did that, you know, we got the police officers and the police department and the city department doing what they can do. And then if the other community leaders, if I go to Henry Hasib and say, hey, Mr. Taxman, Mr. Financial Planner Man, I need your help in this area or that area, and you come out, you know, we agree to go to LaFleur to speak to them. We got to go back over. I think they changed principles, so we had to go back over there and make new introductions. But the community leaders got to come forward and do their part. The families, you know, the changing of the single family households, I think that the people that we grew up with, like I said, we're a little older than you, had bigger staying power. You know, when Robert Battles, when Robert Battles' mother was told about her husband over at some juke joints, the mom would put the person in place and say, "Look, baby, he brought home his check. You know, he knows where he knows where he lay his head. He's here. Let him go have his fun, do what he do." But they understood that the home was taken care of. But now we don't have the tolerance that we once had. The one makes steps on another makes toe, and you say, well, got to call it quits. So if you don't have the staying power, then you get them single family households. So we got to work on having the staying power and working on the parts that we don't. Relationship's not always going to be palatable. It's going to be like that bitter pill sometimes. It's going to be like that medicine that your parent gave you sometimes. It tastes horrible, but it got me better. And that's where relationships are. Sometimes it's sweet like the roses, and sometimes it's bitter like the castor oil. But at the end of the day, we got to work through our difficulties. And then even if we do find ourselves in a single parent household situation, community leaders got to come into play, and that's where they got to be able to tag. You go to some community leaders. There's a store downtown, Pritchard, a convenience store. You say, hey, Viger High School, less than a mile from you, is having a function. I need to put a few posters at your store. And they said, well, no, we can't do that here. Well, wait a minute. I sit here across the street at the tire store, and I can observe hundreds of people trading with you, and yet you don't have the respect of the community that you're robbing from. You're stealing all our money, and it's stealing. It's nothing better than stealing. You're a thief. You come here and you steal all our money. You sell us trinkets, and yet you're too proud to associate or assimilate with us. We should be too proud to trade with you. Shut that store down. Get it out of our city. Get it out of our country. Go back to whatever hole you came from, because it's not fair to do business. And if you could look like me, you could be from Georgia. Go back to Georgia if you don't feel like Rome, Georgia. Go back to Georgia if you don't feel like taking care of the community that you're in to serve. Go back to Rome, Georgia.
Well, you know, I've been saying for some time now that we need to form one of the names I say is a think tank. We're gonna have to sit down as a people that's part of a community to discuss these problems. A lot of times, and I'm pretty sure some of our viewers here, that when as they hear these statistics, they're probably being shocked by them. I didn't know it was that bad. It's because we don't discuss. So we need our leaders, our community leaders, our parents, people who got these problems, to sit down so we can come up with ways on how we can make our community better. And there are communities, because you know the type work I do, I'm in and out of different communities all the time, and every now and then I get the police be called on me because I'm a little different from the community that I'm supposed to be. It used to make me mad until I understood what was going on. Now I tell the people, you know, even when they come to question me, you know, I say I respect you. I'm glad that you take this kind of pride in your community. Well, even though it ain't your house that I'm at, you want to know what am I doing at that
neighbor's
house.
In my community.
You know, on the 22nd of August, we're gonna have our municipal election, and this would be an opportunity for the people who in our audience to take an active role in talking to your leadership about what you want for your future. John Russo said the people get the kind of government that they deserve. So we deserve a better society, but we got to make it better, though. So we